In this video, I'm going to show you how to price your products or services, what to think about when trying to come up with the perfect price, and I'll share with you some of the most common and expensive pricing mistakes that most business owners and entrepreneurs and marketers make, so you can avoid them. You see, knowing what price to charge is one of the most important factors to your business success. Charge too much and nobody will buy it. On the other hand, charge too little and you'll lose money. So, what are you supposed to do? And is there a way to find that perfect price? The one that's best for you, best for your customers, and best for the health and longevity of your business? Well, my friend, I think so. So let me show you how it's done. Starting by taking a look at pricing strategy from two completely different fields, economics and psychology. According to economics, price theory comes down to two simple things, with the official definition being, the price for any specific good or service is based on the relationship between its supply and demand. Essentially, as demand goes up, supply goes down. And as supply goes up, demand goes down. And that perfect spot right in the middle where there's just the right amount of supply and demand, well, that's known as the optimal market price, or equilibrium. So if we look at pricing strategy this way, well, then there is indeed a perfect price, but this economic model has a lot of problems with it. And that's the reason we pretty much never use it in the real world. Because while supply is easy enough to figure out just by really taking a look around and seeing how much you've got and how much you've got to sell, demand is another thing entirely and has a ton of different layers and factors that influence it. This is why the advice to just lower your prices in order to increase demand is pretty much always a terrible strategy. So let me break that part down for you now using both a mathematical and an emotional approach. Let's do the math first to get it out of the way. In business, there are three drivers of profit and growth, and the formula looks like this. Profit equals price times volume minus cost. So the question then is, if you want to make more money, are you better off by increasing the volume and selling more, or increasing the price and charging more? Well, let's do a simple calculation to help figure this out. Let's say we're selling something for $100, so that's the price. And let's say that you plan on selling 100 of them, so that's the volume. And let's say that it costs us $50 in order to fulfill or to deliver each unit, so that's our cost. Now let's take a look at what our overall profit looks like whether we increase the volume by 10% or the price by 10%. In example A, our price is going to stay the same at $100, but we're going to increase the volume by 10%, meaning instead of selling 100 of them, we're going to sell 110. Our costs are going to stay the same because regardless of whether we sell 100 or 110, it's still going to cost us $50 to fulfill or to deliver each unit. Well, when we plug all these numbers into our formula here, you can see that we end up with a profit of $5,500. Next, let's take a look at what this looks like when we increase the price. So in example B, we're going to take our price of $100, increase it by 10% to $110. We'll leave our volume the same at 100 units, and we'll leave our cost the same at $50 per unit or per deliverable sold, whatever it is, whether we're selling products or services. But now, according to our formula here, you can see that our total profit, instead of $5,500, is actually $6,000. This gives us an additional $500 in profit over simply raising the volume, and that equates to around 8% or so in increased profit by instead raising price rather than just raising volume. But there are other benefits as well to raising prices, aside from just increasing your profits, as well as a few dangerous and expensive mistakes that most people make. So to cover those, we need to take a look at pricing psychology next. What makes business and marketing and pricing psychology just so incredibly interesting and so much fun is that it's all about people. And people are awesome, but also strange and confusing and sometimes somewhat illogical beings. We claim certain things are important to us and then act in completely different ways. We buy things for emotional reasons, but then justify the purchase as logical or rational, both to others as well as to ourselves. And we ignore the science, the data, and the hard facts about economics and consumer behavior, and make purchasing decisions based on feelings and intangible criteria like status or prestige or increasing some other kind of social indicator to other people. Even the things that we buy that other people are never going to see still tell a story about ourselves and about the identities that we hold true and help to confirm the beliefs that we have about ourselves or the aspirations that we aspire to grow into. For example, you can't see what kind of pants I'm wearing right now, but they could be dress pants, they could be jeans, they could be no pants at all.
Holy moly!
And each one of those is going to tell a very different story about who I believe myself to be. But that's what keeps things fun and interesting and keeps marketers like me always on my toes, always trying to learn the latest and greatest in the research and the studies and what's going on, as well as those proven principles of human behavior that really haven't changed that much in tens of thousands of years. Anyway, in my humble opinion, I believe that studying pricing and pricing pricing psychology is one of the best ways to understand kind of the illogical attitudes and irrational beliefs that we as humans have when it comes to buying things and making decisions, as well as build a profitable and wildly successful business all at the same time. It's the ultimate win-win. And rest assured, people do not make buying decisions completely rationally. If we did, well, when prices went down, we would buy more. And when prices went up, we would buy less. That's not how things happen. If it were, then people wouldn't panic sell at the bottom of a stock market crash. And on the other hand, there wouldn't be a market for luxury goods like Rolex watches or Louis Vuitton bags or other status symbols. After all, if all that people wanted was a watch that accurately told time, well, they could probably just buy a $10 Timex. And if all they wanted was a bag to just hold their stuff, well, they could use any bag. A gym bag, a garbage bag. They could just wrap a bunch of rubber bands around their stuff, or tape it to their leg. Or for the price of a mere $326,579, instead of buying an Hermes Birkin 35 diamond Parassus crocodile bag featured in jewel-toned Bordeaux, they could just hire someone full-time for the better part of a decade to just follow them around and carry their stuff. On the other hand, the bag does come with free shipping. I've got 2 points with this. The first is that price is subjective. What's expensive to some is actually cheap to others, and a lot of that has to do with your market's demographics, as well as their values and their beliefs and their identity. But the other thing is that price is often interpreted as an indicator of value. So while we can all appreciate that $326,579 is an obscene amount of money to spend on a bag, and whether that's true or not isn't what matters here. It's perception that counts. And higher priced goods and services are typically perceived as being a higher quality. And there are countless examples of this taking place in the real world as well as through different research studies. For example, medicine has been proven to work better when it costs more. Pricing a bottle of wine higher actually makes it taste better to the people that are drinking it. And the same applies for pretty much anything else you can think of. So much so that when we see something that sounds just a little too cheap or a little too economical compared to other options, we question whether it's too good to be true or whether something's wrong with it. Either way, we ain't buying it. And this is why, whenever possible, you want to build your business around a high-value core offer. So let me explain what that means now. A high-value core offer is often referred to as a high-ticket offer, or basically anything that's going to cost around $2,000 or more. Now, $2,000 is kind of just an arbitrary number, so you can play with this however you like, raising it up or down depending on your business and your market and your industry. The key thing here is knowing that whether you're going to charge $2,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 or more, you need to have a couple things lined up. First, you need to make sure that you're solving a big enough problem. And next, you need to make sure that you're solving it for the right people. So let's look at both of those now. The first, and maybe the most important thing of all when it comes to business and marketing and definitely pricing, is you need to make sure that you're solving a big enough problem in the first place. There's an expression I heard once that I absolutely love that says you will be rewarded in direct proportion to the value and the volume of the problem you solve. In other words, millionaires either solve million-dollar problems or solve problems for millions of people. Billionaires either solve billion-dollar problems or solve problems for billions of people. And in general, people that are just barely getting by are not really building the business that they truly want, or just probably not solving that big enough of a problem or for that many people. So do your best to make sure that whatever it is that you're selling, it's more of a need to have rather than a nice to have or a want to have. In marketing and copywriting, we call this selling a painkiller versus selling a vitamin. A painkiller relieves some big and immediate pain or problem that someone's experiencing right now. A vitamin, on the other hand, is more of a preventative measure. It's a nice to have that takes care of some future thing that the future version of you is going to have to deal with. Good luck, future Adam. Next, you want to make sure that whatever problem you're solving it for the right people. Let's use a transportation example here to help explain this. Let's say you've got 2 different people and both are in Los Angeles and they want to get all the way across the country to New York. Now, obviously, there's a number of different ways that they can get there, and it's going to depend on a number of different factors, including how quickly they need to get there and what resources are available, and basically how important this trip is. For example, they could walk, they could bicycle, they could rent a car, they could take an Uber, they could take a commercial flight, or they could rent a private jet. Although it looks like walking would take them 912 hours. Yikes. So all of these different options will get them from Los Angeles to New York, but clearly walking is out of the picture, and even in the case of, say, renting a private jet, which is on the extreme other end of the spectrum, well, even that has a number of different variables associated with it. For example, renting a jet like a Citation CJ3 would cost around $32,000 for a one-way trip, whereas renting a significantly larger jet like a Boeing 737 BBJ would cost them around $140,000 for a one-way trip. And this doesn't even take into consideration the fact that if you make this trip a lot, well, you may want to even look at buying a jet. Well, the CJ3 costs around $8 million and the Boeing BBJ costs around $65 million. The point is, in any given market at any given time, there's different segments of the market who have different degrees of pain as well as different access to different levels of resources. So your mission here is to spend a decent amount of time trying to figure out which segments of the market you're best able to serve, as well as the ones that have the most need and the ability to actually pay for the services or products you're providing. Also, I wish this next part wasn't true, but after working on over 1,000 different marketing campaigns over the past 10 years, I can tell you with absolute certainty that this next part is indeed a proven fact. And that is, it's not the best business that wins, but the business with the best marketing. This is because everything you do, from the messages you use, to the customers that you attract, to the price that you decide to set, everything is communicating something to your ideal clients, your ideal customers, or the people you most want to attract. So in order to help you build a better business, charge higher prices, and attract better and more clients and customers, the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I've got linked up right here on digital marketing strategy. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, the next thing that'll really help you become a better digital marketer is to understand the differences between strategy and tactics and when to use them. Strategy is all the big picture stuff, and this is really where you